I find it fascinating how every glass is consistent, and with grapes and crop and weather, like, how do you know that it's always going to be consistent? So you know what I'm trying to say in a sentence.
Absolutely. And that not always the case. And
so a question actually, I have this debate with my father. He says that putting ice in it is like sacrilege because you've just totally ruined. You diluted it. What are you doing? It should just be cold and pouring, and that's how you should enjoy it. I'm sort of sat in the middle. My friends say no. If it's a hot day, I want an ice in my rosé.
Every girl in England puts ice in their wine.
So what is
it's not a US thing to do that.
Each their own. I think probably ideally the rosé is nice and cold, and you don't need to put ice in it. But like if it's a bit warm, put some ice in it. It's fine.
Talk to me about the name Amie. Where's that originated from?
We started making a list. It was lockdown, so we were making a list of kind of meaningful words that meant something to us. And none of that was really working. And then we were like, okay, it's a French wine. Why don't we translate these words into French and see if any of these stick?
How did you meet, critically? I just want to know.
Oh gosh, we met in New York through friends of friends of friends of friends of friends. So yeah, that's a good challenge, is we sold out and then we didn't have anything to sell until October that year.
Yeah, we had no stock for like 3 months.
So we sold out by August and didn't have anything until...
Was there a moment as well along the journey in the initial stages that you kind of sat back and thought, yeah, this is working, like this isn't just something that you said you were going to buy some wine and then if our friends bought it, great. It became I think we need to do this.
Probably when it sold out so quickly, because we were like...
I know that there's grapes involved, so it's basically salad, it's healthy for you. But that's about as much as my knowledge.
Founded by husband and wife duo Will and Abbie, Amie Wines is a brand born from a love of connection, creativity, and the joy of sharing great wine. Known for their beautifully crafted wines and vibrant branding, Amie has quickly become a favourite for those who appreciate quality with a personal touch. In this episode, we'll explore Will and Abbie's journey, how they built Amie Wines into a lifestyle brand, and what it takes to turn a passion into a thriving business. So let's raise a glass and dive in. Welcome, Amie Wines. Before we get into today's episode, I want to give a shout out to a special sponsor, Sam Lawrence Recruitment. We all know that finding the right people or the right job can feel really overwhelming, and that's exactly where Sam comes in. He really just gets it. It's not just about ticking boxes, it's about connecting the right people with the right opportunities. He takes the time to understand you and exactly what you're looking for, whether you're building a team or taking that next career leap. So definitely get in touch. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. At Getting to Grow, I believe that growth starts with connection. And that's where our sponsor, We Are All Marketing, comes in. I'm super excited to be partnering with Vic and the team over at We Are All Marketing. They're not just a marketing agency, they're storytellers, strategists, and your biggest advocates. Whether you're building a brand, launching a product, or strengthening your digital presence, We Are All Marketing helps you turn ideas into impact. With a personalised, results-driven approach, they ensure your vision reaches the right audience in the right way. Ready to grow your business? Visit weareallmarketing.com and see how they can help you thrive. Getting to Grow is also brought to you by the Coconut Collab. And full disclosure, as I'm sure most of you are aware, I work there, so I know how much love goes into everything that we make. We're all about creating delicious, dairy-free, plant-based treats that do not compromise on taste. From our creamy yogurts to our indulgent desserts, everything's made with coconuts and a whole lot of care. If you're looking for something naturally good but seriously tasty, and my favourite is just our natural coconut yogurt, I have it most mornings with granola and lots of honey. Trust me, you're going to absolutely love it.
Welcome back to another episode of Getting to Grow. On this week's episode, we have Abbie and Will, who are the founders of Amie. And this is like my drink of the summer. This is like lady juice, as my dad likes to call it. It is, oh my gosh, like look at it, it's absolutely stunning. So I can't wait to get into everything about Amie and how it started and everything kind of in between. So, what inspired you both to start Amie?
What inspired us? Well, lockdown was happening when we started Amie, and we were living in Oxfordshire at Will's parents' house, and Will was helping his dad has like some wine shops in Oxford, and all of a sudden their online sales had like boomed overnight. Obviously, like bars and restaurants were their main accounts, and all of that kind of like stopped very suddenly. And so Will had to go home and help with deliveries for all these online orders that were coming in.
Yeah, so it was like the trade was like he was saying just restaurants and shops and bars and stuff mainly, and that basically closed overnight. So, you know, when everyone was trying to buy wine from like Majestic and all the other places that they were taking 2 or 3 weeks to deliver, he had to turn his whole business sort of overnight into like an online delivery platform. So I just went back and, you know, in my goal from the start, like delivering bottles of wine to random people in Oxfordshire, and it was sort of got us thinking. And beforehand, literally like 6 months beforehand, I quit my job, probably less than that, probably 3 months before, quit my job to start a wine tourism platform, which was a whole different conversation. But not great timing because, you know, obviously then most of our mates were on furlough and whatever, we didn't get that. And then, but then this whole, you know, I always wanted to do your own thing, and wine was becoming more interesting. And then we decided to work with a producer in the south of France, you know, and there's been this sort of direct consumer boom and different brands over the last few years, and this is obviously 4 years ago, so before that. But wine, it is quite old school, it's pretentious, it's a bit stuffy and whatever. We wanted to create great wine, but just create a young, fun brand. And it wasn't like, it was a big business plan or anything. It was a lockdown project. We brought over 5 pallets, which is like 2,500, 3,000 bottles. And we're like, right, you know, if we sell half of it, we'll hopefully make our money back. If not, we got tons of rosé, which we can give to our mates, and oh well, we'll see what happens. But
I think you saw a gap in the market for
yeah,
kind of like an on-trend brand that wasn't so traditional and was a bit more fun. And I think probably like, you know, helping your dad during that time made you realize like, hold on a second, there's not really a brand that's
and I
like
knew Abby's
doing this. Yeah.
Abby's background, you know, she's a marketer, photographer, social specialist, like she's got her own marketing agency, and I knew we could sort of do it together. And yeah, it sort of seemed to work. The first batch we sold out in sort of 7 weeks, and you know, we never sort of did paid social or put any budget into it.
This is all D2C at this point.
All D2C because everyone was at home. And then
It was a really nice summer as well.
yes.
Oh yeah, of course.
Remember that lockdown summer? It was like
Gorgeous
so
weather.
hot, so nice. April even was like amazing.
Yeah.
So that was helpful.
Yeah, really helpful.
And then it sort of evolved from there.
Gosh, because you guys have also got your site in Victoria, but Epsom Yards in
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah.
So how did that kind of transition then happen?
So that was a few years later. That was about 2 years ago. We started Amie about 4 years ago, and that was actually a bit of again a bit of a coincidence, a bit of an accident. We did a pop-up, did a couple of pop-ups before that. We did one in Covent Garden, and then this space came up in Eccleston Yards, actually through sort of Abby's contacts, did a fashion pop-up there. We started talking to the landlords and said, look, if you fancy doing something over the summer. Eccleston Yards is quite like a newish space in terms of, and you know, people like in London when the weather's good, they like sitting out in courtyards and rooftops and whatever.
Yes.
And we were lucky 2 years ago, the weather was very good, so we had it for June, July, August.
Supposed to just be for 3 months.
Yeah. And again,
Still there.
Still there.
the shell was there. It was like whitewashed walls, wooden floor. My brother had made some bar out of pallets, lockdown, so we brought that in.
A very DIY bar.
Yeah.
With our bars.
Definitely broke after a few months, but we literally bought a couple of fridges off eBay and just sort of got going, and then since then we signed a long lease there, and actually now, as of last couple of months, we've now actually knocked through to next door and doubled our space, so we've expanded and got a bigger space, and it's great for us because it's great brand awareness, because you know, 1 million people walk through that square every year. It's a great place to take buyers, you know, to show them like what the brand's about. You can't take them to south of France every day, so taking them there for a meeting is awesome. And also it's like a free offer, so it's sort of in the back of our mind.
Shoot from there.
Shoot
so
space, yeah.
It's been so good.
So I
It's
think,
like the studio.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mix of all of it for us.
So I think
Yeah.
even if it just breaks even, it's still a great space for us to have, just all these added benefits.
Yeah.
Mm.
And talk to me about the name Amie. Where's that originated from?
So whenever it was Will's idea to start a rosé brand. And when we started thinking about it and brainstorming, okay, if we're actually going to do it, like, what's it called? What's it look like? All the kind of different branding elements. We started making a list. It was lockdown, so we were making a list of kind of meaningful words that meant something to us. So we wrote friends, family, travel, like all these things. And none of that was really working. And then we were like, okay, it's a French wine. Why don't we translate these words into French and see if any of these stick? And as soon as we were Amie, it was like, that's the one. And then I think because of marketing and storytelling, you know, our slogan is a wine for friends. So it kind of was like, if Amie means a female friend in French, so it was the perfect kind of fit, I think, for us.
And I think we always wanted like something minimalist, something something like
I like that it's 4 letters. Just
exactly. And we didn't want to have Chateau la di da di da and bore consumers with all this jargon about the wine. Like we obviously can talk about that forever, but 95% of consumers don't really care that much, or like put it on the back or put it on the website where they can read about it if they want to.
And we use kind of the friendship angle a lot, you know, throughout our marketing and events and everything that we do. It's all about, you know, a wine for friends, bringing friends together, which is really fun. It's cool.
I'm bringing a husband and wife team together.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like super premium.
Thank
Like
you.
that looks on the
Thank you.
shelf, I'd be like, gosh, I'd look at it and be like, oh, I want that wine, but that looks like £200 a bottle. It looks like I couldn't get it because it looks super premium.
Yeah, we wanted to do a few things like different bottle shapes, and you know, I got the vinyl on that and silkscreen label and those sort of things. So just little aesthetic things which possibly some traditional wineries haven't necessarily done, and I think it all helps with the brand.
Yeah.
Also, with the name Amie, we have opened up a whole new market for Amies.
Yeah, we didn't really.
So many girls
cool.
called Amie
Yes.
are like obsessed with Amie because it's their name.
That's so great.
Spelled that way. They're all
Yeah, you
like,
should
oh
do
my
like
God,
a big
yeah.
marketing campaign, like
It's
not
so
just
funny.
Amy's or something.
Yeah, it's funny. We never even that never even crossed our mind. And all of a sudden, all these Amies were like DMing us and so happy about it. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's great. So when you started the company initially, it wasn't anything, you didn't have any like big goals or plans with it, it was just like, I really like wine, I want to get into it, this is what I'm going to do. You didn't have, as you said, like a big plan.
Yeah, not really, no. I think in the back of my head, we did it properly, we did it quickly, and we did it we didn't have like a business plan or anything, and we think the whole idea was let's see how it goes. But I think always had a feeling it just could actually work. There is something here, but let's just see how this first batch goes. When that sold out really quickly, like without any budget, without any paid campaigns or anything, like actually there is something here, and then we sort of developed the wines, developed the concept, and created more wines. Because you can start a business. Obviously a lot of brands do raise tons of money and they spend a lot of money and stuff like that. That wasn't a luxury we had, so we had to just do it organically. And with Shopify at £30 a month or whatever it is, and some good high res photos and whatever.
I think we're lucky that we didn't have to pay for marketing and photography and all those things because we could just do it ourselves.
Basically, Abby could
Whereas
do all of that.
Obviously, a lot of people have to pay for that or find someone who can help them. And I think, maybe if someone's starting a business and they're the more creative person, they'll have to find someone. Like Will's side is very much numbers, business, all of the hard things that I'm not good at.
Yeah,
so we're
I'm not
lucky
either,
that we had
because confuses me all the
I'm not good at that stuff. But I think we're very lucky in the sense that we had kind of both of those skill sets that we could kind of bring together at the beginning during the launch, which was good.
Definitely. I think when you are two very similar people, like you're both really creative, you would have then obviously struggled with the business side of it and been like, we need to get someone in that can do that. But also the biggest selling point is people love a lifestyle, they have to buy into that, and if you're really good at that, then that's kind of what's going to make the product sell as well. So you kind of are marketing and sales in like one hat at the same time, without sort of like maybe realising at the early stages.
Abby, 100%. Abby would like this brand would not be anything without Abby. It's just like the only reason.
But I can say the same about
You guys compliment each other. How did you meet, critically? I just want to know.
Oh gosh, we met in New York through friends of friends of friends of friends of friends. I was living in New York for 5 years before I moved to London, and Will was visiting one of our mutual friends for a weekend.
Yeah, you just met at a party at a bar.
Met at a bar called the Rusty Knot in the West Village. It's not there anymore, sadly.
Oh no.
They closed during COVID, but yeah, that's how we met.
Oh, and then the rest is history, and now you're both in the UK.
Yeah.
At the early stages of the business, what would you say were some of the biggest challenges you had to overcome?
Early stage. Well, I guess the first lot was just getting the wine to the UK and sort of working all that. There was obviously some legal stuff and legislation and whatever. And then like shipping it, I guess we were, we rented a small little warehouse and next to my old man's one, and we just I was packing stuff up. We were repacking everything because the boxes that came in weren't strong enough, and then we'll send that out, and using different careers, and some were rubbish and some were good, and then it's just I was delivering some of my car still, so it's all
having
a bit
a lot of breakages with the deliveries, which was frustrating.
Yeah, it was all a bit hectic at the beginning, but it was great fun, and then I guess things like that, and then things like I don't know, barcodes. We put barcodes on a bottle that we didn't know that was really a thing. Like direct to consumer is not needed, and then suddenly when COVID closed, some of the bigger retailers took interest and having to hand put barcodes onto all the bottles, which wasn't fun. But there's always learn a lot, and there's lots of little issues at the beginning. But I think in terms of the main thing, which the consumer sees, like the sort of lifestyle aesthetic stuff, which Abbie I think did really well at the beginning, and using some influencer marketing and that sort of thing, did a great job.
And did you think, as you said earlier, Abbie, how the weather was amazing, obviously, when you guys launched, which really helped sales? Because when I think of rosé, for me, it's a summer,
it's not a day like today.
Sadly not a day like today, but then I am seeing all my girls later, and I know that there will be a bottle of rosé open, because that's kind of like our drink of the summer anyway, and we will definitely be drinking it. But obviously, you launched with quite amazing weather. Did you then find going into winter of that year when you launched, did you think, oh gosh, now maybe because the weather's not getting great, and obviously we're known for very crap weather in the UK, was that a challenge, kind of seeing the seasonality of it?
Actually, that's a good challenge. Is we sold out, and then we didn't have anything to sell until October that year.
Yeah, we had no stock for like 3
So
months.
we sold out by August and didn't have anything until October.
Yeah, well, we weren't it takes a while to sort of get it
course.
all going, and so we didn't want to overcommit. So it was a good thing in a way, and we sort of went back to. I was still working in this wine tourism business. Abbie went back to her sort of day job, which was Roden, her agency, and then in that autumn we produced a white and a red, and then that.
So we actually didn't bring the rosé back until February the next year. So
Yeah.
from August to February, we didn't have any rosé.
Yeah. So we bought a white and a red, and then the rosé, and then we said we had 3 SKUs for the next. And we weren't quite sure what's happening with COVID. It was all a bit uncertain.
Yeah.
And, you don't want to suddenly commit to tripling your order. And,
Yeah, it was still very COVID-y,
So it was a bit of not a normal sort of natural start for a startup. We probably that first year, most people would do that in 3 months or 6 months. We sort of took our time a little bit, so we were sort of figuring stuff out.
Was there a moment as well along the journey in the initial stages that you kind of sat back and thought, this is working, this isn't just something that you said you were going to buy some wine and then if our friends bought it, great. It became I think we need to do this.
Yeah. I feel like probably when it sold out so quickly, because we were it's so risky, it's so scary. It was our savings that we used to do it.
Yeah.
And it was what if we're stuck with all this wine and nobody buys it? But when it sold out so quickly, I think we were okay, I think there is something here. And I think because we had so much support from friends and our network and kind of influencers and brands that were, shouting us out, I think that made us realize okay, people are enjoying it, they like it, it's wanted, and I guess maybe it could work. And so that's why we started thinking about a red and a white, and went from there.
Yeah, when you start seeing random addresses on Shopify up in Leeds or sort of Liverpool or wherever, who are these people? The
that's
first
what's so cool.
you might recognise, you might know, and then it's and that was great, and that was quite exciting. And then I guess some of the collaborations as well were very interesting. Really early on, Free People wanted to do their own product as a label as well, which we did the following summer, and things like that. I think just gave us a bit of a vote of confidence. And,
it made us think if they want to do something with this, and I guess they think it's cool.
And Free People's, I look at them and think, again, aspirational, lifestyle, it's a very lovely fit with your brand, how they portray themselves, to customers is very similar to how I was Amie.
And I think when we launched the brand, we wanted to make a brand that was a lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
We didn't want to make just a wine brand and only target wine journalists and wine customers. We wanted to make a brand that fashion people love, chefs love, anybody, every kind of person can drink Amie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we wanted to create. Athletes, we've got some rugby players who love it. So it's it's a real range of different people, which is
fun. And how do you drink it? What do you like to have it with? Obviously hot summer's day with. So a question actually, I had this debate with my father. he says that putting ice in it is like sacrilege because you've just totally ruined. You've diluted it. What are you doing? It should just be cold and pouring, and that's how you should enjoy it. I'm sort of sat in the middle. My friends say no. If it's a hot day, I want an ice in my rosé.
Every girl in England puts ice in their wine.
So what is
It's not a
correct
US
here?
thing to do that.
Each to their own. I think probably ideally the rosé is nice and cold, and you don't need to put ice in it. But like if it's a bit warm, put some ice in it, it's fine. But like
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
I think
It doesn't ruin the wine.
well, as long as like it doesn't completely like dilute, but it's
I guess if the ice melts, then it's kind of diluted. But if you like it like that, you do that.
As a purist, you'd probably say no, but like
My dad literally went there. He was like, "Get the ice out. Get it away." He's like, "I don't want to see it when it
That's
comes."
so
I
funny.
know. When
I moved here, I was like, why is everyone putting ice cubes in their wine? Like, I feel like in the US, nobody really does that.
Yeah, you go anywhere in London and
It's like an English
yeah,
thing.
there's ice everywhere.
that's weird because in America they put ice with everything else.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't know.
Ice with water, ice with everything.
Yeah.
And you get Diet Coke and it's like
Yeah.
it's all ice.
I mean, I love ice. Got ice full in that Stanley cup over
Yeah.
there. I love it. But yeah, it's funny. But I just love a crisp, cold glass
Yeah.
of rosé
Yeah.
on a summer's day.
Oh, me
It's the
too.
best.
It is like
So
delicious.
good.
I really didn't appreciate wine until I kind of grew up as well. Like as I got older, I'm still young, but I remember being young and like when my mum would drink it, I'd be like, "How do you like it? It tastes horrible." And now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, so get that like after work."
There's
wet
nothing
and
better
with my
than like
friends.
a sunny evening, a little bowl of crisps,
Oh.
a nice cold glass of wine.
Especially after the day on the beach, you come back, you showered, you're moisturised.
That
you're
first drink in the evening, yeah, so nice.
So good. So talking about the development of wine, I know that they come. I'm like I don't know anything, so I know that there's grapes involved. So it's basically a salad. It's healthy for you. But that's about as much as my knowledge kind of extends to.
Shall I say this one?
Yeah, please.
It's
By the way, I don't know much either, so we pass it to him.
you done do courses now.
I'm learning still.
It's essentially farming. I guess it's slightly different to like beer or gin, where you distilleries and you can produce it with. You are farming the land of wine as vines, which obviously take up acreage, and then you're harvesting these grapes at the end of the summer. So the northern hemisphere, that'll be sort of August, September time, and then it ferments, and then rosé, which we get red wine, white wine. Rosé is red wine grapes, which with red wine you keep the skins on when they're fermenting, so that's where you get the tannin and the colour and stuff from red wine. But with rosé, especially this sort of paler style of rosé, you only leave the skins in for like a couple of hours maybe. Take the skins out to give it a nice touch of flavour, whether it's berries or whatever that sort of flavour you want to add. But it keeps a nice light colour and a fresh style of sort of dry rosé, which we want. And then so we work with producers in the south of France, which all our wines are from, in an area called the Languedoc, which makes some really great wines, and might not be as traditional as some of the other French regions like Burgundy or Bordeaux or Champagne or whatever, but there's amazing sort of climate and some great winemakers down there. We work with 4 different producers, so one does our rosés, another one does our Sauvignon and our red wine, which is Carignan, another one which does our sparkling wine, which is Cremant de Limoux, which is actually the oldest sparkling wine in the world after Champagne, so even older than Champagne. And then we actually do a Chardonnay as well from the Loire Valley, which is a bit further north. But yeah, we make the wine and we work with these winemakers to, unfortunately I don't own a vineyard in the south of France.
Damn.
Annoying.
Goals.
Maybe one day,
Next
yeah,
year.
exactly. But so we work with them to sort of develop the flavours we want, and then obviously we have to work out the bottling and all that sort of stuff as well with them. But it's good. It's we got good partners. We were very lucky.
And I find it fascinating how, and I think this is also a testament to who you work with, but how every glass is consistent. And with grapes and crop and weather, like, how do you know that it's always going to be consistent? So how do you
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say, the sentence.
Absolutely. And that not always the case. And like you see quite big natural wine movement these days as well, and that's often where the wine ferments on its own yeast. Get too technical, and that can mean that every batch is different, which some can be quite funky and a bit strange, some can be great, so that is a bit harder to make consistent. With our wine, most of our wines are organic, so I think that's really like key. Like this is certified organic, some of the others aren't quite certified yet, but they're in the process. But so there's no like pesticides or herbicides, so it's really pure wine, and that's basically the winemaker's skill. They can try and make the same blend. they look at all the different conditions. There's a lot of science involved now, looking at the pH levels and all that. And then also you might tweak the grape variety slightly. So last year our rosé, for example, our Amie X was 50% Grenache, 50% Sancerre. This year it's fully Grenache because just to keep that consistency the same, because the way it develops slightly differently. And our Sauvignon might have a little bit of other grape variety just to balance it out. So yeah, that's a big part of it, making sure each year is the same sort of style of vintage. So that's the winemaker's skill really.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh, and actually getting it pale. If I'm ever in a restaurant and I'm like, oh, glass rosé, I'm always like looking on like just the palest one you have.
Yeah.
Like if it's dark.
Yeah, there can be some really good dark rosé, and like obviously,
Really? I've never had one.
really great flavours and whatever. But the market is, especially in the UK, is very much
the paler the better.
We're not fighting against the market. We're just getting and this is perfect for summer's day. This is what rosé is to me as well. Like in the summer, that's what you want. You can have like more foodie based rosés and stuff, which are probably that darker colour from Spain and wherever. But yeah, this sort of Provence style is what people want.
Yeah.
I agree.
So with Abbie being kind of the brains behind marketing, as Will has mentioned, how have you managed to create such an amazing lifestyle brand? And I think like that's the $1 million question, because everybody wants their brand to really stand out. It wants to be something you connect with, and it looks effortless. It looks like you've just done it, and it hasn't had like this whole big thing behind it, because it is so gorgeous. And like how I know you is through obviously my friend Tara. Shout out to Tara. Like she's your biggest influencer for me. I literally know about Abbie. She's like, you've got to have it. And so how have you created such a phenomenal kind of brand? And then is there any strategies that you put in place to ensure that came across to the consumer?
Yeah, I think kind of what we said earlier, when we wanted to launch this brand, we wanted to keep it quite minimal and just like on trend, kind of looking at like other brands that were cool and happening at the time. I feel like the more minimal branding was everywhere, and it was something that we wanted to do as well. I think when we also, kind of what I touched on earlier, was like creating a lifestyle brand. So I think the key things for our marketing have been content. I think content is so key these days. I mean, Reels and TikTok, you have to be so on it. You have to like know what the trends are, be able to jump on things quickly. We're very lucky because Rodin, our agency, we do that. That's what we do. So we're really lucky that we can just do it right then and there if we need to. And I think influencer marketing has been huge for us. Using our networks. Whenever I moved here in 2018, because I work with other brands through Rodin, I met a lot of people. So I was really lucky that I had some friends and people who could support us from the beginning. And I think just being able to kind of reach out to those people, but also expanding who we reach out to. And kind of like I was saying earlier, it doesn't have to just be fashion people. It can be athletes, it can be chefs, it can be all kinds of different people, and just getting the wine into their hands. And yeah, I guess, we look ahead at the year when we're planning, a key messaging and key moments, but a lot of it is kind of like off the cuff and just like, I think, again, because we are an agency as well, so we have that ability to just like do it quickly and jump on stuff. Whereas other brands, I guess, they either do it in-house or they have an agency who maybe can't be as reactive and quick. So I think that's probably like one of the key things, is being able to just jump on trends and do things quickly that we want to do.
So from your previous experience, you already had like a couple of people in mind that you wanted to work with.
Yeah, I think, whenever we launched, we gifted so many people just to like get it out there and for brand awareness. And I think that really helped because, all of a sudden, if you see 50, 75, we probably gifted like 100-something people actually at the beginning.
And the rest,
maybe even more. Like we gifted so many people, and they all were so kind and supported, and most of them supported and posted about it. I think all of a sudden, if you're a consumer and you see this new rosé all over your Instagram, especially during lockdown, when it was sunny weather.
Yeah, it was 4 years ago, and I think a lot of companies have pulled ad spend, and not that we did any ad spend, but I think social was just a quieter place and nothing was going on.
And everyone was sitting at home.
It was quite easy to. It was quite. We're lucky in that the timing with it, and we're not trying to sell like Blue Roll or something. It's something which people can easily put in their lifestyle, or
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but I think still, we don't do as much gifting like that as we used to, but we still do gifting campaigns throughout the year here and there. And I just think it helps keep the brand in front of people.
Yeah. And now do you do ad spend and things like that on Instagram?
No, we've never paid any money for anything.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Because it's. I mean, I'm a consumer obviously of Instagram, and I'd say that's probably where I do go to, not for like medical advice, obviously. I'm not that silly.
Well, you
but you can. Especially
find doctors on there.
I would say you're following the right content, but there's so much. It's quite confusing space to get information from. But yeah, it's where I'm heavily influenced.
Yeah.
You know, with what they're eating, drinking, seeing, doing, buying. So it is this place I think to go. And TikTok as well. It's one of those ones that I'm still trying to get my head around because I'm not of that. I'm not like a Gen Z. I'm like a millennial, so I'm still learning TikTok. I don't get it as much, but
I think our approach has been very organic. Yeah. That's my background. I worked in-house for a brand called Fry in the US, and I was in charge of all their organic social influencer marketing content, basically. I never did any of the paid spend stuff, so that's just naturally not
and I think,
what my background is.
Well, I guess, again, like, because we're self-funded, we haven't got tons of budget. We're like, right, let's allocate most of that marketing agency to that paid agency to then spend X amount more on paid per month. So, and then for us, like D2C is great. We love the D2C stuff, but there are other products, probably whether it's clothing brands, whatever, which suit D2C better. Like wine's heavy, it breaks. So like there's quite a lot of cost involved with the D2C stuff. So like we could spend loads on Meta or whatever and increase our revenue, but actually our bottom line probably wouldn't actually increase because it still struggles to make profitability. I know and it's something we might do in the future, but at the moment we're very much organic, and our sort of focus is more on working with our great retailers and restaurants on and off trade and export markets.
Another key thing I think for our marketing has been brand partnerships. So, that Free People collaboration that's the only like label collab that we've done, just because the minimum order is so big that it's hard for, a lot of different people to do that. But that was really cool. But we work with brands all the time. Maybe it's just collaborative content that we do that's like, showing their product and ours in a reel together or something, and we post it collaboratively. So I think partnering with brands who are open to collaboration and want to like tap into each other's audiences is such a great way to kind of grow your brand and your audience by tapping into theirs.
Definitely, yeah, especially if they've got large followings.
Yeah, and it's really fun to work with other brands as well and kind of like help each other, I think.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. Going back to your point, Will, about how a big focus for you is now obviously working with your retailers. So I was doing, when I was looking online about you guys and doing my research, so Ocado was your first retailer?
Yeah, we worked with Ocado for a while. First, big one, I guess. But we haven't, I guess we're not really going down the grocery route yet. Ocado is something which is great for us. But with wine, a lot of the on-trade restaurants, pubs don't really like it if you're in in the stores, because often they discount you and whatever. So there's a bit of a flex. So we Ocado's okay because it's not actually physical stores, and we try not to discount them there ever.
It also it does operate quite significantly different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's more to stores.
Yeah, I think it's still seen as quite premium.
Very premium, yeah.
So I guess we're sort of focusing on great retailers, whether it's like independent wine shops, delis, Bailey and Sage, like smaller boutique chains, those sort of guys. And then on the off trade, it's like great little restaurants, small little pub groups, sort of staying that end. And I'm not saying we wouldn't potentially in the future go to the bigger boys as well, but I think we're trying to stay at that sort of top of the pyramid type thing at the moment, and then maybe expand more in the future and when we're ready. But we're growing constantly, and great new accounts coming on board the whole time. But we don't want to sort of run before we can walk too much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. So, and your route to market for the off trade, is it through wholesalers?
So we did that ourselves, which is quite unique as well.
Yeah, really unique.
We tried to get with some of the big wine wholesalers initially, and that was a few years ago. And then we started doing it ourselves. We worked with a really good third-party logistics company, and it works great. And actually, it's great because we know exactly who we're selling to. We know the quantities. We've got direct relationships with them, and we're just growing that. And I guess, yes, if you work with a wholesaler, they've got 20,000 accounts. You're exposed to many more people potentially, but there's another middleman, another margin involved. I'm not saying we we don't do that in some markets. We obviously do it in all the export markets. We do it in certain parts of the UK. But in the southeast, as long as they're willing to open an account with us and they haven't got sole distribution rights from someone else, then we're very happy to deliver to them direct, and it's a win-win for everyone.
How do you deliver direct? Do you have loads of vans all across town?
No, we work with a third-party company who we a store, and they have the vans and like next day delivery anywhere across London, and they're brilliant. So that's been great. We have to do all the invoicing and stuff.
Yeah.
Keep on top of that. So that's something we do. Actually, trying to hire someone at the moment for that job, if you know anyone. But yeah, no, it's a bit different to most F&B brands.
Yeah, that's a really neat model. Actually, it also allows you to keep like very close partnerships with your customers, which I think as you grow, obviously, like with I've been at Coconut now for 5 years, and when I started the business, there was 8 of us, and we did have direct relationships, but as we grow, and I'm chilled product, it's really difficult to do that much distribution.
Yeah.
It just it doesn't really work. So we work heavily with wholesalers, especially like the big ones of London. But
I think for any food brand it's virtually impossible. I think wine's a bit different, and so you sort of can do it. But that's not saying we wouldn't in the future, especially if they want to. If we've got hundreds of accounts and they want to take that on, suddenly it's a lot of business for them as well. So then we're probably more attractive proposition than going to them with nothing.
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, you work with lots of restaurants, which is really cool, because I similar role at Coconut Club, where I'm basically in charge of the restaurant side of it, because that's fun for me. I love food and drinks. I love chatting to the chefs. What would you say is one of your favourite accounts that you love working with, and where do you go for supper and you're like, gosh, I'm so proud to see Amie there?
Favourite, that's hard. But maybe one which is quite relevant. Last night we went for dinner with my mum and Abby. Literally our local little neighbourhood restaurant, great restaurant called 6 Portland Road. And
so good.
Really? What kind of food?
Just classic, I don't know.
Modern European.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And it's awesome team. They've been there for a long time.
It's so local, on a residential street. It's so cute.
Yeah, and then you just pop in and they'll give you free nuts and whatever, and just be really nice, and maybe a beer here or there, and they're just a great sort of. Again, they've got two restaurants, just sort of classic account, premium, small, and they're just down the road from us. So maybe, and also they were one of our OG accounts.
One of our first,
when I was delivering.
Because we were a customer, right?
Yeah.
I think that's how it happened. Yeah.
And I used to deliver them in my car, and now I don't do that, unfortunately.
And how do you go about kind of gaining new sales? Who's in charge of the new business and going out, and do you literally walk into restaurants and go, this is my wine, you should try it? Yeah,
any restaurant our team go into, tell them to take a photo. But it was me for a while, but then Fred came on board in the beginning of January. I've known Fred for a long time. He used to work at Chase and a few other places, and he's brilliant, and he is 10 times better than me. So he is great, and he's now sort of taking us to new levels.
Amazing.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Do you, I'm trying to think of as you said, the Bailey and Sages of the world, but then also on the flip side of the smaller independents, the kind of private members clubs in London. So the first one that comes to mind, obviously you guys would be great in Soho House, unless you are already.
No, they have their own rosé.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, Lady A is theirs.
Oh, of course Lady A, but I didn't know that was, I thought that was a brand.
No, it's their brand. So actually quite a few, you notice a few restaurants and places who do a lot, sometimes create their own.
Interesting.
And they're one of them. So yeah, I've spoken about the white before, so that conversation's ongoing. But rosé, I think, they just do their own.
Yeah, fine. Because I'm thinking you want to partner with those places where people go that is lifestyle-y and the Ned and.
Yeah, we're in the Hoxton.
Yeah, the Hoxton, really what's really gorgeous new restaurant, hotel that's opened, 100 Shoreditch.
Oh yeah.
That's another one that gives that kind of vibe. So yeah, there's lots to look into in that one. And then with wine trends. Where do you see, what trends have you seen recently that have come up in wine? Obviously, I've had Lucy on the podcast and she does a lot of canned wines.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting talking to her about it, because it's something that, when I think of a can, I do think of a tinny in the park. I don't think of a wine. I'm really particular about wine glass. I can't have a drink out of a really thick, rim. I hate that. I want a really thin, glass. So there's lots of trends in wine, but what would you say is one that you've really noticed?
Yeah, nicely great. They're doing a great job in there. They're all 4 formats and
Yeah.
stuff, and that's definitely a growing market. So they do a good job in that.
One thing that comes to mind, because we were just in Cornwall, is they do so much wine on tap in Cornwall.
Yeah.
Like all the cool places, it's wine on tap.
Well, like when you say tap, you mean like in a cake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something
Which
nice
is
to do that as well.
so
Yeah,
interesting.
they do that.
But yeah, I think because sustainability, there are better ways to do it, and like you can do it. Keg wine is actually quite a sustainable way, so it stays fresh, and same as cans. Like there are thing is at the end of the day, it's still wine, it's still farming, it's still moving stuff from one country to another. Like it's never going to be completely great. Like we've taken steps to reduce our bottle weight because bottles can be quite heavy. So that's one of the reasons people try and do other formats. So like our white and red, we reduced our bottle weight by quite a lot, which is great. And so we're looking at things we can do as well. I guess slightly lower strength alcohol is something. Our white is now 11%, which typically you're 13-14%. Some reds are like 15% more, and so people do quite like that. And non-alc obviously is a big growing market as well.
It's a very big one.
Big, but I think in the whole, the wine market, alcohol in general probably is on a slight decline across first world countries, and probably for good reason. A lot of crap at the lower end probably was drunk way too much. But I think there's slight trend to drinking less, drinking better. So
That's
and
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I drink less, but what I do drink, I'm like, right, well, I'll spend the extra £5-6 on a bottle because I really want to enjoy it.
And you're probably not drinking every night like some of our parents' generation.
Yeah.
Come back on a Monday and like have half a bottle of wine. It's like probably, I think our generation probably a bit like that's a bit odd, maybe.
And if we're on barge, aren't we, on
Yeah.
the tube with like these books, like Tim Staxer's book, and ultra processed people everywhere. So it's like we can't really like get everything we do. We feel like we're like looking and thinking how we need to eat more healthy, move more, and less alcohol. So yeah, there's a big movement within like wellness. I do also think it's quite a London-centric like an issue that we think is this worldwide issue. That, Joe in Liverpool's not probably thinking about it as much as like the Londoner is generally.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we need to monitor a bit because
and on non-alc as well. Like not everyone can pay £15 for a non-alc cocktail, and so like obviously that's a growing market, but it's still quite
It is so interesting though with non-alc being such a growing category. Like in California, it's huge. And I feel like they're so health conscious and like obsessed with healthy things.
It's something we've been looking at as well, actually. So yeah,
That's cool.
we'll see what happens there. But
TBC.
yeah, TBC.
Yeah. I personally would just rather not drink. I'd struggle to pay.
But a lot of friends who don't drink anymore. I have a few friends who've just stopped drinking, or pregnant friends. They still want to feel like they're having a drink.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like sometimes I think water is just they want something that feels like a drink. So it feels like they can still have like a cocktail or a glass of wine, or at a wedding reception still feels like they're having a glass of champagne.
Yeah, I think that is. I think it is growing, and for good reason. I think people still want to drink, and it's a quality drink as well, because a lot of the options in the past weren't good, and then now some really good quality drinks that you got pent up.
I've had cocktails like, really good, like spicy margaritas, and I'm like, are you sure this doesn't have alcohol in it?
And like
Tastes
Corsa,
so good.
like you said, Brian was speaking about David on the podcast, and he was saying how, that trend, and actually when I tried their tequila, I thought, gosh, this is delicious, and when you're shotting it, you're obviously like not telling you what I do on the weekend, not to shot, but you're not drinking that much, and the less strength is
and
there.
Pentire have cans now.
Delicious,
The Paloma margarita and their spirits that are in cans, and they taste like delicious cocktails, but there's no alcohol. It's really interesting.
And if you have the option available, like Lucky Saint being on tap or whatever it is, like we have it in the bars and Pentar stuff and whatever. And people ask for it as well. People ask for non-alcoholic wine. So
I think that's why we started looking at it more, is because so many people at Amie Wines Studio were asking for non-alcoholic options. And so we were like, okay, we have other brands, so we don't have our own. So that was kind of what opened it up for us to think about.
Wine is generally like such a crowded market. So how do you guys stay ahead of your competition?
How do we stay ahead of our competition? I think my answer is going to be marketing. I think being like kind of what we were saying earlier, just being on top of marketing and what's fun and cool and happening on social, because I would say the majority of our customers, you know, have found us through social. So for me, that's what my answer would be.
Yeah, I think Abby's right. You know, obviously you'll make sure the quality's there and people will come back for the second and third glass. But yeah, to get it bought in the first place, it's like Abby and her team do an amazing job with the marketing. I think that's key.
And also I think you guys are super relevant. Like you're very on trend with what people want to do, what they want to be associated with, and I think that plays such a big part of it. Like, you know, I wouldn't want to be sat drinking a glass of Echo Falls ever again, other than what we used to have at university, like no way. Whereas I would be very happy sitting there being like, yeah, this is my bottle, like I'm sat with Amie.
Great.
Which is lovely.
Yeah, that's nice.
I will,
That's a
for sure.
good thing to hear.
Yeah, like, shout out to this.
Wouldn't mind Echo Falls as sales figures though.
Yeah, but there's just not.
No.
Like, it's just, that's what I mean about dark rosé, like
Yeah.
that is juice.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was saying, I think those sort of supermarket brands maybe aren't doing it as well.
Yeah. So, you guys are obviously a couple. Well, your husband and wife, more than a couple. How do you find working together with that partnership? Obviously, I can assume it's really difficult that, I don't know, I'm assuming, but having work and then personal, but obviously because you are both work and personal, do you go home and are you quite, speaking about work at home, how does that dynamic kind of work, being so close in work and...
It's amazing, isn't it?
Still love each
Yeah,
other.
it is. Honestly, it is amazing. Like I think, obviously, you know, sometimes it's annoying.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it's not perfect all the time, but I would say the majority of the time it works really well. I mean, because our skill sets are so different.
I was gonna say, like, even just from sitting with you guys, obviously, when you met
Yeah,
today,
you heard who answered what questions.
Yeah.
Like,
you
know.
complement each other so well.
We could literally go a couple of days without talking about. Well, we do talk about work, obviously in the evening stuff. Like we want to, but it's fun. But we don't we don't step on each other's toes. I literally have no idea. Like they can do what they want, really.
Yeah.
And they might ask me for a bit of like wine fact stuff for a certain post, or whatever. And you know, we don't really talk about our stuff. Like
but we can
have
go
team
the whole
meetings.
day without even like talking, really. You know, like
But
it's
it
not
is
like we
fun.
sit there together at the desk all day, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And because I also do rodents still, so you know, if I'm on a shoot for a client, I won't be around Amie that whole day.
Yeah.
You know, so it's still like a nice balance. And then at home, I actually like those days a lot because then I get home and I'm like, what'd you do today? Who'd you talk to? What was this about? What was that about? And it's like a little catch up. But I think we're pretty good at, I think it's kind of fun actually when you get an idea, if you're at home or, you know, on a holiday or something, that you can talk about it then. You don't have to wait until you're with your colleagues to talk about it and brainstorm it, which is fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not, I think honestly, like, because what we do is so different, I think it works really well. I think if we were doing the same things, it might get a little like...
It's quite nice we sort of know what like we're doing as well. Like if I was a banker, you had no idea what I was doing. If you were doing marketing, I had no idea what you were doing. Like, like work is like something you do talk about quite a lot, whether you like it or not. So at least we can actually...
Yeah, I guess you'd still talk about work
talk
with your
together.
husband or wife.
Yeah.
And maybe you just wouldn't understand what they were doing. Really.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's fun.
As entrepreneurs, what would you say has been some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
I think, for me, I feel like networking has been like my thing for my whole life.
I wish that was just like, I know it is a job, but I wish that could be a job. I love it too. I
Yeah.
wish I could just network.
Well, it's great, and it's not like it doesn't always have to be for business. It can be for life. It can be for meeting. You know, and that's how we met. Different friends. It's like I think networking is huge, and just connecting with people and trying to like keep in touch.
Yeah.
And if it is someone you want to work with, or you know would like to work for one day or something, just trying to like stay in front of them. And then also my go-to phrase is "Don't ask, don't get." I feel like that's like gotten us so far for so many different things. If you want something, just ask. It might happen. You just never know. So those are like, I guess, more general things. I guess for like, you know, the business, like, it's tricky, isn't it? Like the barcode thing, those things are like, you just learn that stuff along the way, I guess. If you make a mistake or realize something didn't go right.
Yeah.
It's kind of how you learn and grow. And I think there's nobody out there that knows exactly, like, every entrepreneur, founder, creative, anyone in business is learning every day, I think.
Yeah, I guess you should get out there and do it. You know, you can write business plans and think about ideas the whole time, but have meetings, get it wrong, get it right, just do stuff, meet people. Just if you're doing stuff, like opportunities come up, and then like that's the way you've got to crack on and make the most out of it.
And looking into the future, what would you say are some of your kind of goals that you'd like to hit in the next 5 years at Amie?
Well, it's a good point. I guess like sort of from a financial background, we've been doubling sort of every year in the last 4 years, and we'd like to try and keep that going if we can, and sort of keep growing the revenue side of things. But doing it the right way, winning good accounts, people we're proud to be working with. Fred, our sales manager's favourite, director of sales, our favourite saying is anyone can sell a fiver for £4. So it's about like making sure you're keeping your like everything else sort of good. Margins are fine. And sort of, but like still keep growing as well. So that's something we want to keep doing as a team, and I just like really keep enjoying it. Like everyone keep learning in the team, whether it's doing wine courses, whether it's sort of learning new skills, and just like as soon as you stop growing, you stop learning and stuff. I think that's when it's boring and it's dangerous. Everyone's got achievements and targets, and enjoying it at the same time. I think that's the key, really. Like I think it's very easy to put sort of figures in the air and have these sort of investment decks, which are these like hockey stick bends. But I think as long as we just keep doing what we're doing it well, then hopefully everyone's going to benefit and we're going to enjoy it.
And just touching on investment really quickly, I know the moment earlier on you said obviously that how your first production was funded by yourselves and your savings. Have you then reached out for external investment since, or is it still kind of friends and family and personal funded?
Yeah, no, just the business, just sort of personally done so far organically. We're very lucky in certain stages with the business, like started off direct to consumer, so like we literally had the money in before we had to pay for the wine.
Yeah.
Like, so cash flow was amazing. Like we weren't waiting 90 days for a wholesaler to pay us. Like so that was great. We were very lucky that Abby was still running her agency. So like her salary and the bills and stuff and the rent all paid from that. So we didn't have to take much money out of the business and staff costs. So that all goes back in for more stock for next year. And then the bar, we're very lucky with that, because it was at the start.
I need to come and have a drink there.
I've
said.
come
Oh
over.
my god, you got a hot pot yoga.
Yeah.
I know, but
It's right there.
I go at 6 in the morning.
Well, good on the evening class.
I'll go to one of their sleep sessions and then I'll come for a
Oh,
glass.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I need to. Oh, that's wrong.
Have a glass first and then go for
Tara's coming tonight. No, she's next week.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
But yeah, just we're very lucky with that, because that actually again generated great cash flow.
Yeah.
Has actually been like profitable, been great. We've got a great team there, and a great manager, Alex, and that's working really well. And so that's managed to help pay for sort of other sales staff in the business. And yeah, it's not saying it hasn't been a challenge. I've had a couple of investment decks ready to go in the past, but we sort of just held off because it wasn't the right time or this and that. I'm not saying never say never, but at the moment we're quite fortunate that we do own it, and if we can, I think if we're going to grow exponentially, then I think we probably would have to have external funding. But it's sort of, we're working with our partners and making it sort of work at the moment.
Amazing. And we've touched obviously on trends within the industry, like no alcohol, low alcohol. Is there anything else you see within wine that you think is going to shape the future?
Yeah, I think all those sort of trends you're talking about, low alcohol, obviously no alcohol, that's growing, but obviously wine's always play a part. People love stories, I think that sort of supermarket, like mass production stuff, which, is highly processed, isn't great for you. I think that probably will not die off, but I think most people will drink less, will drink better. People go on holiday to like these little chateaus or estates, and they meet the winemaker, they meet the family. It means so much more to them. They invest in that local community. I think that sort of investing in brands and wineries where it's good quality. It's people they know, and that storytelling, I think, is always being a part of wine. It's quite a romantic sort of thing. So I think that's always going to be around, and there's all sorts of different movements in sort of natural wine as well, and but I think it's not going to change dramatically over the next 5 years.
And to kind of wrap up the podcast, for all my listeners, one piece of advice that you would give somebody wanting to start their own business in wine or not wine, just entrepreneurial kind of advice for somebody listening that's sat at home thinking, gosh, should I do it? Should I start my business?
What do you say?
Do it. Yeah, I mean, I just tell everybody to do it. If you
Yeah.
have a good idea and you are able to do it or try to do it, I think go for it, you know, because if you don't, then you'll always wonder what if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, maybe start businesses as a side hustle or like, you know, try to figure it out alongside their job or whatever, like whatever works best for them, for you, just go for it.
Yeah, I think in this like the product space, as long as like the brand's good.
So cool.
I think it can sound quite intimidating to like start a business. A lot of people, I think, depending on what the business is as well. I mean, some people probably do need funding and they can't just do it quickly on their own. So I think it's like, I think maybe like do it in terms of like getting a plan in place, you know? Maybe you can't just like produce it and launch it tomorrow, but like just start thinking seriously about it.
I think understanding, have you got the brand? Is the price selling it at a price which is sensible? Are you making enough margin in doing that? And can you sell it? You know, all that sort of fundamental stuff about the product. I think just make sure that's okay, and then if that sort of stacks up, then yeah, give it a shot. Just fucking work bloody hard at it, I guess.
Well, luckily it's a Friday, which means that I can take this home.
Nice.
And thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been amazing learning all about it. Gorgeous, gorgeous products, gorgeous people, and yeah, fab. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.